Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic: what's the most outrageously expensive thing you've seen in person? A wealthy couple had a pair of Stewart Concert Grand Model D pianos at opposite ends of their spacious living room. Neither the husband nor his wife played. The pianos, valued at about $175,000 each, were just there for show, and when they hired someone like me to play piano for an occasional cocktail/dinner party. Note, I once posted this comment some time ago to a similar question in Askreddit. Did they just hire one person for parties? Seems like a lost opportunity for dueling pianos. Like some high-end dueling banjos. At least they're amazing instruments. I, myself, have been able to hear and play a Model D at when I was in college, as they had one out for anyone to play at. They also had the system that could turn it into a player piano and had that running for most of each day. Those Stewards kinda ruined other pianos for me, sound-wise. I work as a sound tech in a concert hall, and we have both an American Stewart D and a Yamaha C7. The Yamaha kicks the shit out of the Stewart in every way. It sounds better and more balanced /less muddy. It has no weird buzzy strings that piano techs claim don't exist, but all my colleagues hear and are bothered by. It has a better dynamic range. It sounds a million times better with mics on it, but almost every pianist picks the Stewart. I'm pretty sure if you blindfolded them it would go the other way, but most people just aren't great at actually listening and trust in the cash of the brand name instead. This all despite that the Stewart gets way more maintenance attention and has the action totally rebuilt every couple years, and the Yamaha hasn't really had major work in 20 years. Not to say that the D is a bad piano. Just responding to the ruined other pianos part, give others a shot and close your eyes and pretend it says Stewart on the side and see how you feel. I went to a party at a pool house when I was a teenager. Just the pool house was 4,000 square feet. The kid's grandfather invented sheetrock. Trust fund babies, goddammit, why was I a trust fund baby? Edited in a word. I was a blue-collar trust fund baby. 2 packs of Mavericks and a case of Natty Light were bequeathed to me on my 18th birthday. My apartment is 750 square feet. Totally useless comment, but I'm just so blown away sometimes that entire annual expenditures is easily less than people pay for bottles of wine, and their pool house can fit 5 of my entire living space. Not even including the pool. I don't get why you'd want a lot of that shit. I want a bigger apartment, but geez. I'd rather have a nice house in the suburbs and smaller apartments in my favorite cities rather than one massive mansion where I'd never use 90% of the space. Catered a high school graduation party. We did fried chicken and mashed potatoes, so had no idea how we ended up serving food in a mansion. Turns out the daughter was going to Auburn, so they wanted something southern. Out of 200 people there, they ate maybe 4 full plates of food. They had another catering bring the real party food. TL, doctor, people dropped 3 Kelvin on food just for the novelty of it. Do rich people not like fried chicken? I'm pretty sure I'd still like that no matter how much money I had. When you're a 120 pounds in the rain, you might not lol. Only the people very clearly hadn't come from money yet. I attended a wedding that was rumored to cost well over $1 million. There was 2 venues. If I remember, there was 9+ member band flown in from NYC, another strings band during the ceremony, and a 3rd trumpet band that escorted the walk to the reception. An artist oil painted the reception live at the party. The food was incredible. Each table was over the top, with guests having their own glass engraved with their name to take home. They gave people dancing shoes you could take home. It was incredible and probably the most expensive private event I will ever attend. I'm sure I'm missing some other details, but everything was over the top. Most expensive party I've been at was a corporate function. They had a restaurant crawl through Beverly Hills with a different course at each restaurant. Finished up at the Beverly Wilshire. After that the company had a private party in Rodeo Drive. Shut the street down and paid the shops to stay open. The whole week was nuts. It was a convention/exhibition in 2000 during the initial internet bubble. One night I went to a party in one of the famous nightclubs with celebrity lookalikes handing our drinks. Another night a company had hired a penthouse suite in some famous hotel and got a celebrity chef in to cook Wolfgang Puck IRC. Another company hired Universal Studios Park for 50 people all evening. Another hired QE2 for a meal or whatever liner is berthed up in that area. It was my first business trip and I was gobsmacked. A freshly drafted NFL rookie stayed at a hotel I worked at and partied a little too hard. When checking out, he left over 100 Kelvin in jewelry in the room. I was tasked with going and getting it and securing it till someone from his posse could come get it. I wore it for a few hours for fun. Heavy AF and so fucky shiny. A bracelet that was wider than the biggest watch covered in diamonds, and a chain that went past my sternum and probably a half in thickness, also completely encrusted in diamonds. This is why poverty is such a huge issue with those type of people after they stop PI, because they've never had money, way overspent and then end up poor again. I saw something once, where this former NFL player who became a CPA, I forget who, sits down with every rookie and talks about finances and making their money last. Do you know who the player was? Might not want to tarnish reputation in a Reddit thread with absolutely no proof of the claim. I'd say it's better to leave the name out as opted. My sister used to work on super yachts. I'd go visit her every now and again and stay on the boat during off-season, in crew quarters. This was about €500 million worth of boat. And it was pretty damn fancy. It had glass flooring and staircases that turned opaque if you stood on them so people couldn't look up your skirt, all the usual fancy boat shit like a spa and gym and movies that hadn't even been released at the cinema yet. I remember visiting Street Tropez after I graduated and just seeing all those super luxe yachts parked up. Crazy money just to have them moored up there, let alone to buy in the first place. I visited Street Tropez once, and I was kind of amazed that the town isn't even that pretty. My high school orchestra teacher, who is also concert master for the Arkansas Symphony, was loaned a $12 million Stradivarius anonymously for an upcoming performance. I wasn't allowed to touch it, but I got a solid look at it, as well as heard it from 3 feet away. Concert master for the Arkansas Symphony, very impressive. But I wasn't aware that Stradivarius ever made banjos. Yes, they did, but they are super rare. It was a family business and the 2 brothers were the most involved. Antonio Stradivari specialized in violins and cellos, whilst his sibling Joseph made cruder instruments including kazoos. After a while, Antonio's orchestra-focused instruments gained widespread acclaim and the family elders, fearful of losing reputation, made a hard decision: they only kept selling Antonio's instruments and banjos. Deleted. You see that with fine art as well. The quality is good, but a lot of the value comes from the fact that the rich people who own other pieces by the same artist have a vested interest in the value of their works being high. The Patek Philippe Grandmaster chime in steel at an only watch showing in London. All the big watch companies do a one-off for the charity auction, and Patek usually only do watches in precious metals. A grand complication in steel is truly a one-off. It sold for 31 million Swiss francs, close to $35 million US. I actually held it in my gloved hand. Whilst obviously nothing like that price, the most casually rich thing I came across amongst my friends, who are all varying degrees of working class to wealthy but nothing overtly ridiculous, also involved a Patek. I was traveling to the wedding of 2 friends. I live in the capital city, but they were getting married in the countryside. The bride calls me to ask if I can pick up her wedding day watch for the groom, as she'd forgotten to collect it. It still needed to be paid for, and she was trying to work out ways to transfer me cash instantly to pick it up, but the bank wouldn't do an instant transfer for the amount. Thinking she was overcomplicating things, I said, why don't I just pay for it on my credit card, then you can pay me back whenever. I joked, as long as it doesn't cost more than 20 grand, as that's my credit limit, haha. And she said, okay, don't worry about it, Mom can date your past and she'll pick it up. At the reception I clocked a brand new Patek on the groom's wrist. He's not even into watches. When I was starting to get into watches, I found a picture of a Patek that tracked the stars in the sky, and I said, wow, that's cool. If that's less than $300, I'm buying it on the spot. And so I googled it. And in a way, I was right. It's $300,000. In Aspen, Co. a few years back, in a small antique store. We walk in and the guy working there never even acknowledges us while he's casually chatting on his phone. I see a carved wood eagle sculpture about 2 feet tall and 1 foot wide. I flip over the price tag, $125,000. I laughed out, looked at my friend and said, this isn't our kind of store, and promptly left. Aspen is the weirdest place I've ever visited. I'll tell you where: someplace warm, a place where the beer flows like wine, where beautiful women instinctively flock like the salmon of Capistrano. I'm talking about a little place called Aspe. I don't know, Lloyd, the French are assholes. Aspen can have good finds though too. I was walking around town one day and it was a lot colder than I had expected, so I popped into the thrift store and bought a sweater for $8 to keep me warm. It looked pretty posh, so I googled when I got home and saw that it retails for $1,200 and goes used for $500-$800. Always go to thrift stores in rich people places. They have the nicest stuff. My uncle lives in Naples and going to thrift stores is one of his hobbies. Such a massive amount of retired rich people move there, so they have no idea what shit cost. Over the years he has built up an insane hi-fi setup with racks of amplifiers and a whole wall of different speakers.